today with Simon, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself in a minute. So I'm going to leave that for a second. And Nina Cleary from 4GR, who everybody knows has been a big part of the Inclusive Pathways. And we want to welcome Simon to that Inclusive Pathways team now too. So welcome, Simon.
Hello.
And welcome, Nina.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this.
Yeah.
Well done. Good pickup. Um, Hey Simon, your name came to mind when we started doing these recordings because I got to see the big smile on Nina's face at the Youth Awards when she was super proud to tell me that you'd been nominated for a Youth Award. But I'm going to leave that for a little bit later,
Yeah.
if that's okay. But first of all, I wanted, and it's a question I forgot to talk to you about first, but do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Like my whole background in that kind of way, or like
Oh, just a little bit about, you went to school. Did you go to school in Geelong?
I did, yes. I went to school in Geelong. Oh, so like all that.
Yeah, I'll ask you questions. It might
Yeah,
just be.
yeah.
You went to school in Geelong?
I did.
Yep. And are you currently working in Geelong?
I am currently working in Geelong.
Okay, you enjoying that?
Oh, I love it.
Excellent.
I have
This
to
will make.
say because one of my bosses right there.
No, you don't have to say that. We'll just edit out her facial expressions. We can block that. Hey, I want to start by asking you a question, Simon. When you first left school,
Mm.
is there anything that you were worried about?
I think I was pretty much like everyone else, understanding what's my purpose in life, where am I gonna, or career-wise, like to go out in, so it was like 12 years of school, and then all of a sudden you're now like in this big road. It's scary. And it did frighten me after when school holidays finished because I said to myself, I'm just gonna enjoy my last bit of school holidays and then find a career-wise, work-wise. But when it finished, like, oh gosh, what am I meant to do? Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing that like I might find like I used to work at a pizza place, but then I won't go into detail what happened, but I left it and I had experience, but it no one wanted to hire me. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's heaps of people that were trying to get a job as well, but I didn't know what I wanted to do or couldn't even get a job.
Yeah, and that cutting through when there's lots of people is really hard. And I think, Nina, we probably found that really hard when we first started work too, that
Yeah.
you've got something to give, but you've got to cut through. Nina, you would have had a similar experience, I would say.
Yes, yeah, it was pretty daunting leaving school, not really knowing what I wanted to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So did you approach 4GR for some support, or were you already working with them beforehand?
Actually, my mom came to me and said, "Hey, there's this place called 4GR. It's like it was a whole discussion about SLES programs, school leavers employment scheme, and so 4GR was one of them. I looked up their website online, seemed cool, and it's like, yeah, we can do that because at this moment they said they can help me um, prepare for a job, but even though going to 4GR, it was more me learning more, so much more than just saying, "Oh, we're going to get you a job." And it's like, no, there's so much more to that, which I was grateful that I stuck around for. So no, yeah, and then I just rocked up with 4GR and met Mike at that time, Michael, who was the employment coach, and then I just loved it. I loved the learning. I love the people there, the participants there too, the teaching and just experiencing so much more than what I was lost with. So gaining that kind of gave me more confidence with
So what
prepare, yeah.
Sorry, what were
Anyway.
those other things that you talk about? You've said twice there that the other things other than just getting a job. What were those learnings? What were the things that really helped you?
I think the biggest one was like not overthinking. Like it's okay to let some stuff go and just to focus on the now. Don't think about the future. Think about what's going on right now. Because if you think of the future too much, that's blind. You're being blinded by that. Today's today. Another one I think would probably be like, I guess, confidence in myself with people. Like I could talk to people, but I didn't know what the correct tone or attitude to say to someone. Um, According to my mom, I had a issue understanding people's emotions, but I think with the participants there kind of helped me too, and also understanding people on the spectrum, including me on the spectrum, and to know that they might not be upset with me. They're just having, they're just maybe having a really bad day.
Yeah, and I think there's a whole heap of work the rest of the world has to do on understanding the emotional needs of neurodiverse communities too, because
Mm,
I don't think that's something the workforce is the workforce needs support with that. And we haven't really, Nina and I've talked about it a lot. That's the piece of work we need to do a bit more around to make sure that that's safe for you too.
yeah,
So when you first started to think about that first job, what was that feeling like for you?
scared. I
Yeah.
was because I didn't know again didn't know what I wanted to do at all. But when when we say that, we're saying like first job, like actually getting it, or
After the work you'd done with 4GR.
yeah. Oh, so yeah, I was scared about it because um I didn't know if this is what I wanted to do or this is where I was, this is the career I want to take because I was mostly working in food and working in food was good to start with, but then you just kind of like, this is not really what I really want to do as a living.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? Tell us
Uh,
about your job.
so I work with 4GR now as an employment support worker. Um, Used to be called student support, so that can become like under like a teacher's aide, but we don't disclose 4GR as like a school because the point is that you're out of school now and you're trying to get into workforce. So having this the language of more workplace is employment support. So pretty much what I would do, similar like a teacher say, like I said, is that I would help with the employment coach, with the participants, with their learning or prompting them to, or any of their kind of needs. But like at the same time, not hand holding them, like just give them the direction or remind them or suggest something to them, but let them decide or do their work themselves because when you go to work, you're not always going to have that, are you?
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Have you managed to build other people in your community outside work who can help you build those skills?
My coaches,
Your
my
coaches?
sports coaches, I should say.
Yeah.
I think they really helped me with a good understanding of leadership wise, but also understanding people's feelings and how to help around that. And also performance too. But no, they've helped a lot with inspiring me to be a better person.
You're speaking my language now. You're talking about sport. We could talk all day
Yeah.
about sport.
Yeah.
As Nina knows, I'm a big fan. Had you always played sport when you were younger?
Yeah, I used to do field hockey as a kid. That was my very first sport I played when I used to live in Melbourne. But then my family, I moved to Torquay and there was no hockey team. And so I got into basketball. I did basketball 6 years, didn't mind it. It was fun. And then going to soccer by some mates in high school, did that for a few years. And then I got introduced by another mate to play AFL footy.
And you love it.
Oh yeah, I love it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it daunting on the body. Like I got back in pre-season on Monday, my body is sore. I had to do recovery yesterday, and I'm doing training tonight after this,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna
You gotta
tell
drink,
you. Oh, sorry.
you gotta drink lots of water when you're doing pre-season.
Oh, I don't know, but I drank water before we did a run. I think I regretted that. Thank goodness it's only a 10-minute run, the coach said.
I think you bring up a really important point, and we talk about it employment as a part as a goal. But I noticed with my children growing up that if they didn't like one sport, they tried another sport, or if we moved and that wasn't on offer, that it's actually okay to keep trying different sports and find out the ones you love. It's the same as employment in a lot of ways.
And it is. And it's always gone back to that like trial and error with new things. Like you might learn one thing from this sport, but then you learn another thing from this sport. And you might go to a sport where you learn nothing at all.
Yep,
Because yeah. And that's practically fine because that's life, isn't it?
absolutely. The skills you learned or started to develop through playing sport when you were younger, are they skills that you think have helped you out in the workplace now that you're a bit older?
Yes, I've met some oppositions who are some interesting characters. But because of that, yeah, I know that. But because of that, I knew how to like help communicate better with someone, but when they're like a bit different. I won't, again, not being mean, yeah, or to go what they said and what they have done, but that kind of helped me, how do you say, more patience and more resilient with that different type of person. And like you don't know what they've gone through too. Um, and customers wise too. Like I've dealt with customers in the past who are just the worst.
Yeah. We can't tell when people are having bad days, and on a sporting field, it definitely shows up. One of the things I learned growing up through sport was when things didn't go my way and
Oh
learning to
yeah.
sit with that distress. Do you think that's something that's really helped you as an adult get ready for your adult life?
The once funny, well, funny thing, the one thing was my whole junior sporting career, I've been smashed. I've been on the bottom of the ladder. Like my team would always be down there. Um, so I've experienced losses for my whole life. Like I wasn't ever on a successful team until when I turned like maybe in my early 20s. But my whole time growing up, I've lost getting losing every week was getting smashed, getting smashed. But that helped me, like we say, resilience to keep coming.
Yeah. So if you had to give advice to, say, a 10-year-old child now who was not really liking sport but looking around, would you say don't give up? And what would you say to them? Why is
I
it
was
important?
I would say enjoy it. Enjoy what you're doing. You're not getting paid. Media's not giving you attention. This is a community. A community means more like you're making friends, you're getting fit, you're getting out and about, out of the house. That's so much more than just doing nothing. And yeah, every week might suck, but at least you're here. You're not just by yourself, you're here as a team.
Yeah. Do you find just the movement too of getting out and having a run around is really good for your mental health?
Yeah, no, yeah, especially if you're with someone, because that's socializing and you're talking to someone and you're doing something you might love. Um, I'm on the end where I remind myself why I don't like preseason footy because there's a lot of running. Like I miss footy. I miss that social aspect of talking to people and having a laugh and playing with them. And then you remembered why you don't like playing footy, which is all the exercise. But no, like if you love running and if there's someone who also loves running, those two of like your mental health to talk to someone with them, but also enjoy something that you're doing can help you so much.
Yeah, and if you don't like running, there are plenty of activities out there that don't include
Yeah.
running. It's about you're right, that social connection or even just being in the same space. We don't have to be chatting, but just being in the same space can make us feel good sometimes, can't it?
It does. And like if it's an environment that's welcoming to you, it can like change your life forever, really.
That's great. So I'm going to flick backwards and forwards between your sport and your work because I think there's a really big relationship between being connected to community outside work.
Hmm.
The connections you get to work when you go to work, the connections you have with people during the day,
Yeah.
how does that make you feel as a person?
Like, so makes me feel good. Like, it makes me feel that I am actually doing something good in the world because I always believe in the purpose is that be kind to others to change the world. But also it's that reputation wise where people know, oh, that's Simon. And that's good because we've known some participants that I've played footy with who've obviously come to 4GR and they know me. So they already know what I'm like on the footy field, which that's a good thing. Um, that I'm not a person they don't feel uncomfortable with, is someone they do feel comfortable with. So I have that approachness that someone might appreciate more in a workplace.
So you kind of become a bit of a role model too, then, to show that this is what you can do, and is that important to you?
It does. No, I always want people to know that they can come to me. And if it's like something's going in their family and they can come and talk to me, like kind of like a therapist in a way, but still there's a person they can talk to and I'm talking to them. I'm not just a brick wall. I'm actually discussing to them like, oh, this and this. But yeah, there is that role model that I got that for my coaches because I want to be another role model for someone and say, hey, you changed my life a bit, or you gave me a good direction, and that helped me.
Are there any parts of work that you find difficult or hard?
In at 4GR?
Yeah.
Ah,
We won't tell Nina. It's okay.
yeah.
We
Oh
won't
yeah,
tell Nina.
Nina. Let's talk about Nina.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, listen, my job is super passionate. You have to be super passionate what you're doing. There's some days where people, or sorry, participants are like full on great, and some days are just slow days, and that's going to happen. And some days you just wish that the things could go faster in those slow days. But that's the only thing I could think about. Like, don't get me wrong, we have our difficulties. I've got difficulties in my learning, and I can't judge them for that because that's just being rude. So yeah, no, it's just besides maybe some days are slow, some days it feels like, am I actually helping them? Is this something like what can I do to improve myself here?
So, okay, on that point, what can you do to improve yourself? Do you have people back at 4GR that you can speak to go, hey, I'm finding this difficult, or I need some help with this? Is that something that's easy to do for you at work?
Oh, definitely. We have a great team where everyone's so open. Employment coaches wise, manager wise, Weiler, which is working in integration learning officer, like just asking questions to them about, hey, what do you think I could do here to improve better, or what can I do with this participant? Because we've got a participant who has a oh, Nina, what's it called? It's the it's clo Can I say her name?
No, no.
No,
So
I can't.
it's a communication device.
Ah,
Yes, thank you.
communication device. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's me understand because this is brand new to me.
Mm.
So I'm learning that and to help her because that's the only way to communicate whatsoever. So I need to learn that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a friend with a communication device, and and it's one that's a written one. It just comes
Mhm.
out in writing, and it's the color of it. I've got problems with my eyes. I can't read it. And it's so funny when we get together for a coffee. It just takes us forever to have a conversation. And it's more my lack of being able to read the communication device that frustrates him.
And look, those things are hard, and it is hard on us, and we can sympathize with them. Of what that's again, that's the only way we can communicate with them, and they can communicate to us, and that's difficult to the average person. And we're okay to be a bit, what is the word? To be a bit, what is it? Frustrated, a bit lost. Like, how can we do this? How can we help each other out?
Yeah, and sometimes just acknowledging that we need help to do something is really important. Nina, you found that in your job, haven't you, from time to time? I know I have, that sometimes we
Oh,
just need
totally.
help.
Yep.
How many times would I call
Direction and
Yeah. How many
sorry,
times would I call you a year to find out what something means in your space because I can't work it out?
quite a bit times, but like I also, I know I can go to my management as well if I'm not quite understanding or feeling a bit lost and getting direction around what's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, do you find sometimes, Simon, you've got people outside work you can ask questions about that too, or say, look, I've had a bad day today or something like that? Do you have people outside work you can go to? Your mum or
My psych,
someone?
my psychologist?
Yeah.
Really, my psychologist is an awesome person. She gives great tips, and I help, and I use them, those tips, and they've helped a lot.
Yeah, I think having that really good team around you is really helpful
It
of
is.
people who can help build it. So work's not just one part of your life, it actually is embedded in other parts. What are you thinking now work-wise? Do you think there's another step for you after this job, Simon? Are there other things that are sitting, sometimes we just have those little thoughts in our brain.
Yeah.
We may not do it right now, but it's sitting there. Have you got any dreams there that are sitting there?
Wouldn't mind working in schools, but at the same time, there was this thing called oh, what's it called? The NDIS. Um, ah, it's like pretty much they go out and find like scammers and people who are lying, like they're
Yep.
frauds. And they've got like this very amazing group of people that go out in the communities from Geelong, Melbourne, Bendigo, Ballarat, whatever, to um, to pretty much expose them And like we've seen that so much in news. It's disgusting how these people get so much money and like yeah, I mean they kind of up and up the fine, but that's the type of job I would love to do. And there's a bit more how do you say qualifications going forward to what I'm doing right now, but that would be something I would love to do.
Yeah. Are you interested in doing any further study?
Not sure. Not sure.
You prefer the on-the-job learning?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a few qualifications. I've
Yeah.
done certificate free in community services, certificate for on disability, certificate free in school-based education. But so far, I think like, and here's the funniest thing too, is that one of my sisters, she never finished school. One of my sisters got an finished her test on 40% on her final exams. The sister who got 40% is now the head leader of Geelong Home Housing for the government, housing department. And my sister who never finished school is part of that too, and she won an award for the most passionate um, worker award in her first year.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I spend so much of my life writing documents and things like that now, and I failed English at high school. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Like I always believe just because a piece of paper does not make you say, oh, you can't do that. And don't get me wrong, there probably are areas where you need to have a good understanding and learning and capability. I can't say that word. Um,
Capacity building.
yes,
Yeah.
but but out there, there's so much more you could do. Just because a piece of paper said, oh no, you're not smart enough for that, does not mean you're not smart.
Yeah. Sometimes the piece of paper says the test we gave you doesn't really suit the way you learn.
Yeah, it's so silly. Like again, I understand the purpose of it, but I just find it's unfair for those youths to go through a whole like year and then they say, "Oh no, you might not get into this," but like giving them 5 or 10 years, they might actually get into it because they worked hard for it.
So do you think if you think back at school, if you'd been exposed to something like 4GR while you were still at school to help you build those skills while you're still at school, do you think that would have been helpful?
It would. It would definitely help me because it would prepare me. It would make me less nervous to know what life is after school.
Yep. So there's definitely skills you've built. And if you could say to a 14, 15-year-old young person now with a disability that, you can access these services, whether it be GenU, 4GR, WCIG, whoever the services are,
Yeah.
leisure networks, that, should they go out and just ask questions and try and engage a little bit earlier so they get that support?
Definitely. I think those people, or yeah, those type of people should get to ask questions because you don't want to be like in the black and to know what is out there, to know like, oh, I've got this to land on next year and not be thinking, oh, what should I do?
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to get to the important things
Oh,
now.
yes.
Work's important, but we're going to get to the important things. Um, Tell me a little bit about the Geelong Youth Awards. What happened there?
So I'll give you a bit of a story. So Nina nominated me for my Bell Park captaincy for the AFL Bound All Abilities Football League. So first year, by the way, first time ever. And so Nina loved the story and she nominated me to go in. And then what happened was a month or two later, Nina came up to me and said, oh, hey, Simon, have you got an interview yet? And I said, oh, no, I didn't get, what do you mean? It's like interviews. Like, oh, okay, because she assumed that they would interview me because of a big category, um, which was when I looked at the papers like massive. But so those like 2 months later, I thought I'm not gonna win because it's like I didn't get interviewed because thanks to Nina. But I went to anyway because I got nominated. It's like pretty hard to get in. There was like what was it, 900 or 800 people that put themselves in the nomination box was their story, and there's only like 100 people. We're lucky enough. So yeah, then on the night we waited and waited. It's like, oh, I wish I'm the first one so we can get this over and done with this feeling. Um, and then after break, it was the Active Achievement Award. Everyone got stepped up, and then what they do, right, is that they kind of give you a brief story what this person did, and then they say your name. So for all night we've been hearing that, and then what happened was they said like, oh, this person very passionate in the area, committing to their sports, like, And then they said, where's AFL bounds? Like, what? And then they slowly got to my team, and what I did is like, okay, what? There might be another person here that's like that. And then they said my name. It's like, oh my God, it said my name. And then I just see Nina, my mum, in the background, kind of losing it. It's like, what?
It was a huge night. I was there. I remember it was a very cold, rainy night outside, and you walked inside and there was so many people and it was really
Yeah,
quite loud. It was busy night.
it was a busy night, and like so many people taking on those 16 other nominees. It's like, I ain't winning this. Look at all this. There's 16 other people here, and then just me going to do that. I was not prepared. Like, you want to do a speech? Like, I guess so. And I think I can't remember what I said at all in my speech. I talked more about 4GR than my because my it wasn't just with Bell Park, it was more with 4G as well.
Yeah.
So being on the spectrum, working with people on the spectrum, but also playing for people on the spectrum and being a captain for a team. Yeah.
So you're an amazing person to interview. You're very, very easy to interview, and that's because you're very passionate about what you do. And that's really exciting. And I'm sort of thinking, if you could give any advice to your year 7 self, what would it be?
Oh. Ah, my year 7 self. Keep going. Like, you're gonna have the hardest time in your life. Believe me, it will hit, you'll be rock bottom in 2019, but keep going. Like, there's so much better than you think it is. Like, it's actually so much warmer when you finish it. Like, it's gonna be the worst time of your life, but believe me, keep going.
Year 7, for everybody who's watching this, isn't that bad, but it can feel like that when you're in year 7, can't it?
It is
It's
because you don't
daunting.
believe it, because you
Yeah.
don't believe what's gonna happen. Year 7 too.
And I think that touches on what we talked about earlier, is getting these supports in early, and, knowing what is available to you becomes so critical, and we really need kids to engage earlier with the supports so they can see what might be available for them.
Yeah. To at least prevent them to not feel like there's nothing out there for them,
Yeah,
or to feel like life is meaningless or they they're nothing.
absolutely. So football season's about to start. We've just got pre-season, so you're a bit ginger, a bit sore,
Oh my gosh,
ready to
yes.
go. And when does your season start?
So I'm still playing all abilities, but I'm also doing mainstream now.
Yep. Who
So I'm
for?
playing for two clubs. So mainstream, East Geelong Football Club.
Yep.
I've been a local supporter for like 6 years, nearly 6 years, and I finally put on a brave face on to finally play for a club that I support and is and also a local around the boys. So I've got that community feeling with them.
That is fantastic. So you're a real good news story for young people out there who, in year 7, we don't know who we can be, but you're with the right support and the right drive. You're certainly somebody who they can look up to. And do you think the Youth Awards gives people an opportunity to see people like your captaincy and the work you've done at work shine, and that other young people see that, and that's important?
It is. Oh, I think my story has really reached out to a lot of people that say, "Hey, we would like to invite you to come to a Q&A or like just a brief discussion about your story and that people question about you and have a breakfast or have a dinner." Like, it's just blown up, to say at least.
And I hear there's some more exciting interviews on the way coming up. Have you got a gig doing a Q&A with somebody really important, I hear?
Yeah, so Y Lead or Youth Lead invited me to become one of the guest speakers for their panel. Um, and I said, yeah, sure. And they say you've got like 10 minutes of discussion and 50 minutes of Q&A. All right. And so I thought like, oh, it's gonna be like maybe a private school, maybe a big high school, whatever. They're taking me to like, what's it called? University of Melbourne. And when I read that in the email where the location is like, what?
Yeah, it's a pretty
University of
cool
Melbourne. It
space.
is. It's like never would ever thought I would go be interviewed by that. Yeah.
That's brilliant. And I mean, it just shows we've all got so much to learn. And for people like you, you're the expert on your journey, and we need to be listening to more people like you and your journey so we can do our job better.
Yeah, I think I'm unique in the way of like understanding people on the spectrum, but also understanding the other side of it. But still to be that person who is like being in both.
Mm.
And it's helpful like to be out there in the world. It's like, hey, I'm on the spectrum. People would never know that, would they?
No, for sure. And we're all in the same world. We've got to learn to get this right. That's for sure.
Mm.
Hey, Simon, it's been great hearing your story, and I can see why Melbourne Uni crowd are going to really enjoy your passion because you're a very engaging speaker, and that's something you should be really proud of. If you had a message for 4GR, what would it be about the level of support they've given you to get to where you are?
Love you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys are seriously great people.
That's beautiful. Nina, have you got anything you'd like to say before we close out on this one?
I feel that even though some of this conversation is around like NDIS and the funding, and we understand that there's gaps, that if families actually do utilize plans more, there are services out there that can really help with that journey. And, it's just around helping your young person to believe in themselves. Because as Simon said, at year 7, we all didn't know what we wanted to do, and we might not have had that belief. So, just given space and time and love, eventually people grow. What did Paul Kelly say? From small things, big things grow. So
Mm.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Nina, we might have to get our winter woolies on and get down to the footy a bit more this year because I'd look forward to watching Simon run out for East and Bell Park and Dragons. And hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending some time with us today, Simon. And what I'm going to do is turn the recording off now, but we might have a quick chat afterwards.
Yeah, of
So
course.
thank you so much for joining us. This has been fantastic. Nina, would you say that?
yes, so totally. Thank you so much for this, Leigh and Batforce.